Today I decided to do a tier list for the new Docklands karts. This is really only for a bit of fun and a bit of educational purposes. Don't take it too seriously. Everyone's results are going to vary a little bit, whether you're in different weight classes or even different driving styles. So don't flame me too much if you don't agree. But this is our current experience. We've been 3 times in the last 2 weeks. We've done 10 different sessions. So this is our experience with the karts. It can change. It could change daily. It could have already changed, although that's unlikely, let's be honest. There was karts from the old fleet which were slow for literally years since I've been going to Docklands, and there were fast ones that were mostly fast all the time unless they had some sort of mechanical issue. So this is what we've come up with over the last few weeks, just to give a bit of an insight really. But to be perfectly honest, the new karts that are here now do seem to be more competitive than the old fleet in general, but there are some that are better, there are some that are worse, there are some that are in need of mechanical service, which could bring them back in the game, but until that's done, we don't really know. So let's just get into it. So first of all, I'm going to start with number 12. This is going in the bad category for one simple reason. It's got a puncher. It's had a puncher for several weeks. Everyone knows it. All the drivers know it. It's been reported to the marshals, but they keep sending it out with a puncher. They pump it up occasionally, but it goes down again. And I haven't seen anyone do anything. In fact, I haven't seen anyone even complete a session in this car because they bring it in because it's got a puncher. It's broken. Send it to the workshop. We're not expecting, it's not quick fit. We're not expecting karts to be sent to the workshop, repaired on the spot and sent back out in 20 minutes. But this kart has had a puncher since the first time we came back after having a bit of a break for these very reasons. This kart has had a puncher since the first time that I've seen this kart more than 2 weeks ago. So all the drivers know it's got a puncher, and most of the drivers now reject it if they're given it. So second, number 1, I don't really know too much about number 1. It wasn't out in our sessions that we were there. It came out of the garage and put in the current fleet the other day while we were there, and it went out, but I don't know who was driving it and I don't know how well it did, so I'm going to skip number 1 for today. Number 10 is a good kart. I quite like driving number 10. It was quite consistent. It drove quite nicely. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. I think it's a nice all-round kart to drive, so nothing wrong with that. 11 is currently on display in the viewing area, so that's not being used in the track. So 13, this is a slow kart, unfortunately. Every time I've seen it out, it's very slow, even with drivers that are good. It's always slow, and I don't have a reason for that at the moment. I haven't driven this one personally, but it was in my notes as a slow car before Thursday, before Monday even, and someone I know well drove it and confirmed that it's just not a fast car. It's just not a nice car to drive. So this is going in the bad category, but at the moment I don't know what is needed to fix it. 14. Okay, so 14 I've got down that's a good car, possibly A, possibly B class. Let's go for A. Let's be generous a little bit. But I can't remember why. I can't remember why I've rated this where I have. It was in my notes, but I don't actually remember this car at all. So let's just go with that. 15. I really enjoyed this car. I had it for a session, and I think this was the car that I've actually got my current personal best in. and it's a nice car. It was quite understeery, actually. It understeers quite a lot, especially on the mezzanine. But if you can tame the understeer, it's a nice car. So that's a solid A car. That is. 16, I don't think I have any information on. Neither do I on 17. But 18 looks like a really strong car. I'm going to go for S tier at the moment with 18. I haven't had the pleasure of driving it myself yet, but from what I've seen it do, I've seen other people get their personal bests in this car, and it looks like a very strong car, so it would be nice to have a go at that one at some point. 19, another good car. I'm gonna put this in the A class. This is a quite a capable car. I haven't driven it myself, but the reports I've had from it, it's a nice car. It's a good car. Number 2. Don't think we have any details on number 2. I have seen number 2 go out. I followed it around. It was hard to say. It's not a terrible car, I don't think. But just for the sake of this tier list, I'm going to put it in a C, I think. Just for the sake of having it in this list, because I have seen it out. I don't know the driver very well that was driving it. So I can't be too harsh on it. So we'll put it in a C for now. Kart 20 is a very good car, as far as I'm aware. I'm trying to think whether this. I'm going to say S tier car. I think we had high hopes for 20. The times we got to try it, there was a lot of traffic on the track, so couldn't put in the lap times that I think maybe it deserves. So I'm going to just say that's an S tier class for now. That we may or may move that. We shall see. 21. Here we go. Another one. This is outright bad. It's slow. It's just not a nice car to drive. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just slow, and slow for everyone. It's another car that everyone brings in. Nobody likes it. It's boring, to be honest. And this is the thing, we go to have fun. We don't necessarily need to be in the best karts all the time. I mean, some people, yeah. But we also don't go to feel like we're getting mugged off and paying a lot of money to be given karts that, they need attention. 22. This is another S tier car. I believe this could well be the best kart here at the moment. So this would almost need a tier of its own if once we get some more data on all the others. But 22 is a really solid kart. You should definitely be happy if you get given this one. 23. I'm not sure we've got a 23 at the moment. 24 is the last remaining of the old fleet. Throwing that straight and bad. We were told even by the staff that this one's not good, and they're normally quite diplomatic when you want to talk about karts, and they claim that they're all even and that there's no faster ones or slower ones, and they're all very even, which is, with want of a better word, let's just say enthusiastic at best. So 24, that wasn't even being used last time we went. The 2 times previous to that, it was being used, and it was just getting rejected left, right, and centre. So I think 24 could well be the worst kart here, but definitely on par with 21. But I'd assume, considering it's now been taken out of action, it's probably even worse. 25 and 26 are nothing, just some extra numbers. Right, number 3. I've driven number 3. It was not bad. I wouldn't say it's in need of mechanical attention, but it's a C class at best. If there was a D in this rating, it would be there, but I'm not going to add that. It was very slow. The engine sounded like it was struggling. The one thing it had going for it was it handled incredibly well and it had a lot of grip. So I think that's where it makes up for it being slow in general, which is why it's clinging onto a C class rather than being in the bin. But it's, yeah, one of those karts that definitely could be nicer to drive. Number 4, I originally had this as an S tier before I saw these other 3. So this was my original S tier kart. I think it's a good solid kart and I'd like to see more of it, but at the moment that can go at the top. But confirmed by a few people, it's a nice kart to drive. So at the moment it's an S tier, but that could drop down in the future once we get more experience of the other karts. But it can stay there for now. Kart 5, I haven't driven it myself, but I have followed it for a long time with people driving it who I know how they drive and I know how quick they are. So it's not the fastest kart, but it also isn't the slowest or mechanically deficient car. So 5, it's a solid B class, number 5. And number 6, again, I haven't driven this kart myself, but I know the people who have, and they were putting in respectable times, but nothing amazing. So this can be in a B class as well for now, with number 5 and also number 7. 7, I also heard has a puncher. I have followed this one around with the same person driving it as number 5. It didn't seem to be having any issues at that point. So the puncture may have been fixed, or it may have just been pumped up and slowly going down again. So it's a B class, but it could drop down to a C or a bad if this puncture hasn't been fixed. Number 9, it's a good kart. It's an A class, I believe. It's a nice kart to drive. Some good times, but I haven't had the pleasure of driving that one. And I think that's where we're at the moment. We haven't got any data on 1, 16, 17, I'm sure. I've got a feeling I've seen 16 out. It didn't look particularly good, but that's really all I can say about it. I can't put that anywhere at the moment. But really, what we're saying is S, A or B, you're going to have a good time in these karts. They're okay to drive. They're quite fun. A's and S's particularly good. C's maybe could do with some tweaking somewhere along the line. Oh, 8, I do know 8. No, yes, I do know 8. I'm going mad. 8 is the kart that I remember very well. I got moved into this kart when I brought 3 in, and they didn't have anything else to put me in for some reason. So we had 17 on track. A few people had already been in. 12 had already come in. 21 come in ahead of me. And I pulled up and the marshals were like, oh, crap. Like, we've got nothing to put you in. They tried to throw me in 12 and I politely declined. I said, like, that's already come in. I know why it's come in. It's got a flat tyre. It's always got a flat tyre. So they sort of shrugged and was like, I don't know what to put you in. And then he looked at number 8 and said, go out at number 8. And I was like, well, if that was an option, why didn't he say that originally? So I asked, had it already come in? He said, no, it's been sitting there all night. So, okay, well, I don't know why they hadn't sent anyone else in it, but I jumped in it. I knew that we was going to have a bad time, but this is in the bad category. The steering was incredibly violently shaking the whole time, to the point it actually gave me blisters on my hands, and I only drove it for just over half a session. It was slow in general, and it wasn't nice to drive. Very bumpy, very vibrating. In fact, I think I've got a clip of it here. You see how much it's shaking. Even in a straight line, you see the small vibrations, which obviously are a lot harder when you're actually driving it, but you see how much. And if you've ever seen any of my videos, you'll know that I'm super smooth on the steering, and that was just violently shaking my hands the entire time. And I've got blisters to show for it. So it's unfortunate that they don't have enough good karts to sustain a busy session. There's a few times we've been when there's been 11, 12 people and there's enough karts. What have we got here? 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'd say 14 acceptable karts here without even rating a few of these others. 1, 16, 17. But when there's 17 people on track, they just don't have enough fully operational karts for the whole session of people. And when it's a members only event, we know what's good and what's not, and it's quite hard to, and it must be hard for them because they're sending. I mean, they must know they're sending people out in karts that we all know are going to get rejected. So you're just wasting everyone's time. You're wasting our time. You're wasting your own time. This particular members session, there was 17 of us in one group and 11 in another. So I don't know why they didn't even us out. The two of us that went together, we'd have quite happily joined the other group, and we even questioned it when we signed in about how many people were in each group, and we were told it was even within 2. So if we'd have moved, 2 of us had have moved to the other group, then it still would have been unbalanced by 2. But there must have been a few late sign-ons, or somebody decided to move some people around, which happened as well. So we ended up imbalanced by 6 people, which meant that our group didn't get a fair selection of karts. It meant people always had bad karts. And this just one session, let me give you an example. 12 came in, 13 come in, 21 come in, 24 wasn't being used. 3 came in because I brought that in and got put in 8. And at that point, there was no point me coming in to bring that. The person who brought 13 in got put out in 21 again. So that had already come in and then it went out again. And again, he knew that there was no point because they tried to throw him out in number 3, which I'd already brought in. So there's definitely an issue here, and I don't understand why it's always the same issue. These same karts will still be bad in a month's time. I'm going to be honest, we're probably not going to be back for a few weeks now. We've done what we needed to do, and leaving on a bit of a downer when you're wasting time, and it's a long distance to drive for some people, especially us. We come from quite a long way away, and it costs a lot of money, this stuff. And when you go, just to have the disappointment of being given karts that they shouldn't be like this for so long. Again, I understand that things can break. I've had wheels fall off. I've had chains come off at Harlow. And all that shit happens. But when there's karts that have had punctures for several weeks, and the karts that everyone knows are bad, and they keep getting put back into circulation, and every session it's like, we'll just forget, we'll forget that, that 12 had a flat tyre, let's just throw the next person out. And that's the mentality that is really the biggest issue around the arrive and drive style of karting. But the difference here is that we're members that are meant to know what we're doing. To be an elite member, it even says in their documentation that you need to have a certain level of skill to maintain being an elite member. And in that sense, that means that we should be given the respect that if we bring a kart in and say this kart's got a puncture, then you shouldn't be throwing the next paying member out, or even paying member of the public out in that same kart. It's not right and it's not fair. So that's where I'm going to leave it. If you've got anything you'd like to add to this, or you want to do your own, then I'll leave the link to the tier list maker, this particular one that I made, in the description of the video. But if you'd like to have any input into this, if you think I've got something slightly wrong, or maybe one of these karts has been fixed and is now, deserving of a better position, let's have a discussion. I'm all open to refine this to actually be better, not just from my perspective, but from a collective perspective. So, let me know what you think. And thanks for watching.